But that particular passage comes from the third book of the series.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Reverend Susan Ulrich. I serve this congregation as minister. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm so delighted that you are here this morning, spending some time in this spiritual community. We begin our services with something known as loved, living our values every day. And it's a chance for someone, especially from our social justice groups, to talk a little bit about things that are going on in the congregation. So today I'd like to invite up Gordon DeVos talking about the kids service team.
When the Putin government began the invasion of Ukraine and the people were fleeing for safety, Steve Javot packed his bags and went to Poland. He had flown with the United States, and he was volunteering to help. Writing to a friend, he shared, "Today was the first day actually contributing to the end of the humanitarian disaster unfolding in Europe. It has been impossible to sign up for work at the World Central Kitchen. When I mailed, they said, just show up. There's plenty to do." He continued, when I arrived, there were about 50 people working in 25,000 square feet. Just 3 weeks ago, it had been a dirty warehouse. In 1 week, World Central Kitchen painted everything from the floor up. The only plumbing had been a toilet. Now there's a state-of-the-art mass quantity cooking equipment, stainless steel sinks, and 6-foot diameter pie pans that hold about 950 gallons of food each up to the brim, on at least 10 enormous propane burners. Today, my little group from Ohio, Idaho, Portugal, Canada, and the UK peeled a huge quantity of potatoes and poured and sliced a vast number of apples for baby food. We were told we fed 7,000 people in Venezuela at the border, and we prepared food to be cooked and leave for another 30,000 people. 30,000. Steve shared, "Soon I will be going to the border. I will be serving people the first meal many have had in days." The bombing near Lviv, not far across the border, many are coming to Poland. Many on foot, many with children. They're tired, hungry, and cold. The temperature at night is around freezing. Steve continued, when they reach the border, hot food is an immediate need. World Central Kitchen shared the story of Olga and Nora who fled their homes as trenches were being dug in the street nearby. They shared soup at the Tesco shelter in Zemeshla, prepared by World Central Kitchen, perhaps by Steve. Olga said, "Hot food, so important for health and spirits. Usually we're eating homemade foods in Ukraine. During I was leaving many sandwiches. But this hot soup, it feels like home." I'm reminded of Presbyterian minister, psychologist, and children's television icon, Fred Rogers, who told us to look for the helpers. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, Mr. Rogers said, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." The kids service team has a plan to help. Next week after the service, during the outdoor coffee hour, we will be holding a Just Muffin Bake Sale fundraiser for World Central Kitchen. are invited to help by purchasing muffins for yourself, for your friends, for your neighbors, or for folks who rely on the Amistad Catholic Workers' House for food. We'll deliver those muffins right after the coffee hour. Thank you for joining us in being helpers and pushing back against the scary things in our world. We may not be able to travel to Poland like Steve, but we can make a difference.
Good morning. First, live streaming today is on YouTube only through Jesse Greist's phone. For those in the sanctuary, please put your phone on airplane mode to free up bandwidth on the USNH wireless network. And for those of you who don't know how to do it, find a 10-year-old nearby. Once again, I am Sue Lindsley. Good morning. Pronouns she and her. Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community. It is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we've figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. You know, there are many staff and volunteers who make each Sunday service possible. Our staff includes Jamie Ross, Office Administrator, Erica Schroth and Jeffrey Dauma, Co-Directors of Music, William Braun, Assistant Director of Music, Jesse Greist, Director of Religious Education, Jane Farrell, Membership Coordinator, and Oscar Adorno, our sexton. Many volunteers make all the programs here at USNH possible. Someone has to teach religious education, sing in the choir, lead small group ministry, make coffee and tea possible by setting up outside, serve on our board of trustees, and on the many committees that make stuff happen here. Would everyone who serves on a committee please raise a hand? Thank you. Let us move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms. The call to worship this morning is from Kathleen McTeague. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives. Lovely phrase. To resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, reflection of our own eyes. this house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together, both here in the sanctuary and remotely.
All around us, wonder awaits. The luminous blue sky just after nightfall. Experimental shrieks from a toddler discovering her voice. A honey-crisp apple snapping with each bite. Even ordinary gravity is fundamentally mysterious. Within us, a spark awakes. An urge to learn more, seedlings of sorrow, anger, joy, and fear. The life force that keeps our hearts beating and neurons firing even as we sleep. Among us, a flame awaits. The warmth of cocoa and friendship. Injustice revealed by the glaring light of truth. An unexpected welcome through an unlocked door, even after a lifetime of isolation. Beyond us, something deeper awaits. Meaning-making in the midst of grief, the courage to open up wounds that they may heal, a love that will not let us go, even when we try to outrun it. May the spark that sets this chalice aflame bring us to a deeper place of wonder as we enter this sacred time together.
Covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community. We are not united by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we will treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. Each week we recite a brief version of our covenant. I encourage you to read the full covenant on our website as listed in your order of service. While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. We listen to these words every week. Today, speak the meaning in the words. Will those of you here in the sanctuary and those of you with us remotely, please join me now in reciting the words that appear in your order of service. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy. Rise now as we sing hymn 1000 in the Teal hymnal.
I am a daffodil. Until mere days ago, I lay curled up, asleep, beneath the fallen leaves and frozen soil of winter. In December, January, and February, my sleep was deep, unquestioning, reassured. In every cell of my being, I was certain that it was too early to wake up. So I did what was natural, and I waited. There are times in this life when we are sure. Those are comforting times. The world, to me, at those times is like a cloudy day. I know that the sun and stars, the blue of the sky, are all out there, beyond what can be seen and heard, though we are separated by what's obvious, by what's dominant. I don't need to see them to know that they are there. In winter, the ground itself is my unending cloudy sky. It is wrong to think that in winter that I am not full of wonder. I am alive against all odds, full of potential, full of healing and regeneration. Without the dream time of winter, the splendor of spring cannot come. Without sleep, we surely will never awaken. But then, just when we least expect it, March arrives. The month of uncertain opportunity, the month of asking, is it time yet? And never getting a clear answer. I know that if I extend myself out into the first warm day too quickly, frost might move in and harm me before I have a chance to bloom. There are times in this life when we are unsure. These times are also important. If I wait too long, I might miss my chance to greet the year's first bees and hoverflies. The dance of lion and lamb that is early spring is a dance that I have tried my best to master through the millennia. But as much as I would like to, I don't always get it right. Still, there is great wonder in the uncertainty of the dance itself. I am among the first flowers, so I know that I serve a great purpose, to splash color against the backdrop of sleepy decay. I often imagine us spring flowers as a group of coffee-drinking elders that shuffle into March with our bathrobes and slippers on, surrounded by the drab wallpaper of winter, wondering if we set the alarm too early or too late. But when we time it right, we shed these outer layers like a surprising flash mob, revealing resplendent green, yellow, and white bodysuits, pirouetting adagio in perfect rhythm with the sun's arcing east to west path. But again, I ask, is the wonder of a daffodil only a springtime phenomenon? Sometimes I worry. What about summer, when the shimmering flower of my glory will fade into an anonymous blanket of green? What about autumn, when my visible body falls away altogether? Will you remember my dance as I fall into renewed slumber? Will I believe in my own beauty the way I so confidently do today? Isn't every day a day of wonder and splendor? These are my questions as I emerge out there beyond that window. I imagine many of you might awaken in the mornings of the springtimes of your lives with those same questions. So I ask of you, please see beauty not only when I flower, but also when I am but another splash of green in a crowded ocean. See beauty in me as I droop and fade in autumn, seemingly dull against a sea of orange and red. Please don't forget that there is greatness in my underground winter rest. Though I might be as far from your mind as I am from your eyes, know that I am with you, even then, in this world of wonder. Try this with me. Try these movements. Bulb. Bulb to stalk. Stalk to bloom. Bloom to seed. Seed to bulb. The 4 seasons of my life, each with its unique beauty, each with its bumbling, effervescent wonder, each day a bloom or a dream of blooms yet to come. May we be so. Children and youth, I invite you to rise like the daffodil and come with me carried on the wind to your classes. Let us go out to our classes this morning.
Bye.
Love and joy. This is the time in our service for joys and sorrows. This reading is from Jennifer Grayson, called We Matter. In our community, we take time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. We also share joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all our lives, knowing together that our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Not all joys or sorrows can be shared openly in community. Some must be shared eye to eye or held in the heart. We further recognize that some do not have voices with which to speak the depth of their pain or the height of their celebration. We make space each week for silent meditation, knowing the life and experience of every person here matters, and together our lights shine brighter. While we didn't receive any particular concerns to be shared today, we'll take a moment to bear witness to all that people of this congregation are holding in their hearts. We share joy that Cedro Grice Salazar has been selected to play 3 harp pieces in the upcoming Hamden Town-wide Art Show at Hamden Middle School on this coming Thursday, April 7th. If you see Cedro, congratulate him on that. Now let's hold a moment. Silent contemplation.
Let's continue in this spirit of meditation, prayer, or contemplation of ultimate things. One of our responsibilities as humans is to awaken and bear witness to others' suffering. And unfortunately, there's no lack of suffering around the globe. According to a recent statement by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, a full quarter of humanity is living in conflict areas today. That's 2 billion people. Is it any wonder when the world collectively spends $349 billion on peacekeeping, humanitarian relief and refugee support, but nearly $2 trillion on military expenditures. May all people set against one another because of oppression and hate be released from the downward spiral of violence before one more generation of children is sacrificed or has their feet set firm in the desire for revenge and violence. Today, we especially remember all those suffering in Ukraine, Yemen, Syria, Israel and Palestine, Ethiopia, Myanmar, and multiple countries in Africa dealing with insurgencies. What other peoples do we hold in our hearts today? We call them out as you wish.
Russians, Lebanon, women in Congo, Belarus, Haiti, Uyghurs, Venezuela, U.S. southern border.
Let's hold a moment of silence for all of these peoples. Muslims around the world have just started the holy month of Ramadan. As Turkish scholar Fethullah Gulen has said, every sound during Ramadan resonates with the promise of a new start, just as every breath gives us a glimpse of a hope for salvation. May peace and mercy find a new start wherever conflict has taken hold. Amen. I don't know if any of you have ever seen time-lapse photography of plants. They move. They don't, this idea that they just kind of hang out and, kind of grow really slowly. Some of them are like disco dancing. And I think about, in particular, like vines and things that grow in a circle. They're like circling around, trying to find something to hold on to, something that they can grasp. And you may have noticed in the front windows as you come in the front door, there are vines with leaves. The leaves have names and sometimes photos on. Those are folks who have been searching and then found a place that they can hold on to. And that place is this congregation. Those names are people who have submitted their pledges for this coming year because they know how fundamental it is to support what we do here. We're the only ones who support us. We are the ones that make everything possible. All of those committees, all of you who raised your hands, absolutely, your time and your care is also what makes this happen. Your time and your care, I value it, but the electric company gets a little cranky if you try and send them love and care for the bills. So I urge everyone, if you have not yet made your pledge for this year, talk with someone on the stewardship team. You can talk with me, you can talk with Jamie. You can go online, it's super easy. And if you need a waiver because you're not able to pledge right now, you're not in a financial situation to do that, please just go on the form and say, click, I need a waiver, and you're done. We really want this to be a place where everyone feels welcome. And if you can, out of that, I know that I feel super grateful for this congregation. I'm confident that the people whose names are on those little leaves feel grateful for this place too. So if you're able to give at the end of the service into the collection plate of our offering, out of that gratitude, well, that would just be something that inspires a little dancing. Thank you.
The reading this morning is from David White. It's entitled, What to Remember When Waking. In that first hardly noticed moment in which you wake, coming back to this life from the other more secret, movable, and frighteningly honest world where everything began, there is a small opening into the new day, which closes the moment you begin your plans. What you can plan to live is too small for you to live. What you can live wholeheartedly will make plans enough for the vitality hidden in your sleep. You are not a troubled guest on this earth. You are not an accident among other accidents. You were invited from another and greater night, and the one from which you have just emerged. Now, look through the slanting light of the morning window toward the mountain presence of everything that can be. What urgency calls you to your one love? What shape waits in the seed of you to grow and spread its branches against the future sky? Is it waiting in the fertile sea? In the trees beyond the house? In the life you can imagine for yourself? It is open and lovely as the white page on the writing desk.
We begin with the stars. I've been on this planet over 50 years, and I have yet to meet anybody who looks at images of galaxies and planets and nebulas and says, meh. I mean, those people may exist, but to date, I've only encountered the ones who experience astonishment, awe, something moving at the most profound levels of what it means to be human. Those who see the cosmic perspective as a depressing outlook, says scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson, they really need to reassess how they think about the world. Because when I look up in the universe, I know I'm small, but I'm also big. I'm big because I'm connected to the universe, and the universe is connected to me. The Hubble telescope recently detected a star from the universe's first billion years after the Big Bang. Now that may sound like a long time, but it's just a fraction of the universe's estimated 3.8 billion years. And it's much earlier than the previous oldest star that we detected, which was around 4 billion years old at the time of the 4 billion years after the Big Bang. All these billions. So this newly observed star is named Arundel, which means morning star in Old English. And get this, compared to younger stars, Arundel may not have had the same raw materials available during its formation because those heavier elements didn't exist yet. Now, if that weren't wondrous enough, the way the Hubble telescope was able to see the star at all was through a stroke of good luck. According to one of the astronomers who found Arundel, while typical entire galaxies look like smudges at the kinds of distances we're talking about, the galaxy hosting this star has been magnified and distorted by gravitational lensing. Now, gravitational lensing is when space gets warped by the mass of a huge galaxy. The effect on light is akin to the way that surface ripples in a pool act as a lens that concentrates light at the bottom of the pool. In short, thanks to starlight that took nearly 13 billion years to reach us, and a fold in the fabric of space that functions like a magnifying glass, we're able to look back in time to the beginnings of the universe. If that doesn't awaken some wonder in you, then let's talk, because I want to learn more about a perspective that is so different from my own. I'm actually serious, because I'm giddy. So the first of the 6 sources that we Unitarian Universalists affirm and promote is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Now, this is the kind of wonder that wakes us up to the world around us. Its beauty, its heartache, its capacity to surprise us over and over as we go about our lives. Our transcendentalist ancestors valued direct experience highly. The Oversoul, which Ralph Waldo Emerson discussed in a series of essays of the same name, is the idea that humans, nature, and the divine are all interconnected with each other. The Oversoul contains and unites all souls and acts as the animating force behind them. And each particular example of nature or humanity is a reflection of this divine spirit. Its presence in both nature and the human soul made the search for a direct understanding of God, to use the Transcendentalist's language, and the natural world as a means to discover truth and self-understanding. As Emerson himself put it, we see the world piece by piece as the sun, the moon, the animal, the tree, but the whole, of which these are shining parts, is the soul. This kind of experience of transcending mystery and wonder is available to all of us, whether awe catches you in the glorious blazes of sunset, or the impossibly tiny fingers of a newborn, or the daily prayers recited by heart, or the stunning elegance of calculus, or the drum beats that make it impossible to keep still, or any of 1,000 other possibilities. Without someone else's story or filter coming between you and your experience, it gains both power and beauty. Your interpretation of it may change over time, but the experience will always be yours, and yours alone. Certain experiences profoundly change us. And sometimes the wonder is easy to find. Becoming a parent, falling in love, graduating, winning at a competition. Other times, we need to heed the words of Marcel Proust, who wrote, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." I mean, most folks who get a serious diagnosis don't lead with, "Wow, isn't it fascinating how cancer finds ways to crowd out healthy cells?" That said, it's also not unusual to hear people talk about how their diagnosis caused them to reassess their lives and focus on what's most important to them. There's a kind of awakening in that too. And just to be clear, if you're wrestling with difficult issues, whatever you're feeling, it's fine. Please don't hear me as trying to pressure you into a phase of healing or grief that doesn't fit right now. Maybe the wonder comes, or maybe it doesn't. And it's just one possibility. Underneath it all is the awakening itself. An awakening to what is. From there, we can access wonder. There's a Buddhist teaching that says, when the Buddha started to wander around India shortly after his enlightenment, he encountered several people who recognized him to be a very extraordinary being. They asked him, "Are you a god?" "No," he replied. "Are you a reincarnation of a god?" "No." "Are you a wizard then?" "No." "Well, are you a man?" "No." "So what are you?" they asked, being very perplexed. Buddha simply replied, "I am awake." Buddha means the awakened one. And how to awaken is all he taught. Buddhism has 7 factors of awakening: mindfulness, or maintaining awareness of reality; investigation of the nature of reality; energy, rapture, tranquility of both mind and body; concentration, and equanimity, or accepting reality as is without craving or aversion. These factors make me think of what it takes to be woke, aware of the racist reality that people of color live with, a willingness to look at the circumstances surrounding discrimination and injustice, energy to keep organizing, the concentration to maintain a sense of your own dignity. And when these things are done in community, there can also be joy and even tranquility, because we strive for liberation together. Equanimity gets a little more complicated, though. There's an expectation that Black, Indigenous, and people of color will respond with mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, no matter how horribly we're being treated. And while I understand the larger context within Buddhism, which is by acknowledging where we are, we can get clear about where the suffering lies. Still, it would be a terrible idea, to suggest to a person of color that they should accept this racist reality. As we hear in Letter from a Birmingham Jail, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. confessed his grave disappointment in the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action. Who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Equanimity does come in when we remember our value, simply because we're alive, despite all the messages to the contrary. It's exhilarating to be alive in a time of awakening consciousness, said the poet Adrienne Rich. It can also be confusing, disorienting, and painful. Indeed, it's the awakening to reality, becoming woke, that also awakens our compassion. The world as it is may break our hearts, but here and now are the only place and time in which we can live. Distorting this aspect of space-time only magnifies suffering. Unitarian Universalist minister Robert Walsh wrote, "Live in the world. Experience its joys and its pain. Try to find the path through that is right for you. Listen carefully to the voices around you and the voices within you and the voices from the past. You may come to know that there is a mystery animating the creation and you. A creating, sustaining, transforming mystery. Or you may not. If you do, you may choose to give it a name. You may call it God. Or you may not. But don't waste any of your precious time trying to prove it. After all, mystery and wonder are their own reports. As the final hymn puts it, we can keep leaning over the edge and wonder, casting questions into the deep. So awaken your curiosity. Open your hearts and minds. Get ready for a good mystery. Bring a love as wide as the heavens. Bring yourself. You never know what you might discover. Amen, and blessed be.
Please rise and let the Spirit join us.
Standing on these mountains and far away.
Please join together as we extinguish the chalice, saying the familiar words with new meaning and understanding. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Blessed.
Friends, we are here in a place of wonder and beauty and mystery. And to ignore that is to ignore one of the best things about being human, which is our ability to make meaning of what we are in the midst of in this life. So let us go forth with courage and with kindness to find that beauty and that wonder, and to be a blessing to this broken and beautiful world. Amen.